And I live close enough to them, I didn't go use it.
I just went outside and but no cars either. There wasn't nobody out there.
It was good.
Good evening, everyone. Glad you all could join us. We got a great crowd tonight. We proceed each council meeting with a word of prayer, the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like, please feel free to join us. Miss Isby, could I ask you to word of prayer?
Sure. If you'll bow with me, our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for all the abundant of blessings that you've given us. We thank you, Lord, for this city that you blessed us to be stewards of. We just ask, Lord, that you give us wisdom, guidance to make all the decisions that we need to make for our community. And we just pray, Lord, that at the end you will get the glory that you are so deserving of. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now call this meeting to order. Mr. Garrett, would you call the roll, please, sir?
Mr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Mr. Cummins?
Here.
Miss Mel?
Here.
Mr. Ledbetter? Here. Miss Webb?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
And Miss Isby.
Here.
Okay, you should have received copies of the March 26, 2024 council meeting minutes. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Make a motion for approval as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 8-0. Miss Mel, could you tell us who our special guests are here tonight?
I am very pleased to welcome this year's cohort of the Women's Leadership Academy, which is a program of the Women's Leadership Network. And I am lucky enough to serve as one of the board members. And so, ladies, if you will please stand so we can welcome you.
All right.
Welcome, ladies. Glad you're here tonight. Yes, ma'am.
Tonight is their government session, so they're going to see everything live and in person. And the women city council members have volunteered to stay after to answer any questions they might have.
Excellent. Thank you. Glad you're here, ladies.
They just want to ask if we don't know enough to answer that question. I'm just asking. Don't matter.
No.
You don't have to lie.
Just ask.
Yeah, feel free to get in the middle of that.
You're on your own.
You way over your head, Mr. Jones. Way over your head.
I was just offering my expertise. I know they don't want it. Put it out there.
Noted.
Council, tonight we will hear a report from Pafford Ambulance Services. As you know, this group voted Pafford into our city here a couple of years ago, and I can say from visiting with Chief Winter that they are doing an outstanding job. So step up to that mic here, gentlemen.
Good evening. I'll just get my computer hooked up here real quick.
Was there an eclipse yesterday?
Something happened.
Something crazy.
Don't feel bad. That's how Felicia has to do me every morning.
You start his computer for him.
I do appreciate Pafford yesterday
Like
and you guys stepping up with police and fire and our other departments to make sure Conway stayed safe. Fortunately, we didn't need all the resources that were brought to bear here, but we appreciate y'all's part in that very much.
Thank you so much.
That looks good so far.
It looks real good, yes.
We had a flood in this building a while back, and the majority of the damage was in this area. So IT and everyone is still getting all the kinks worked out. All right.
We got
Well,
it.
good evening. Thank you so much. I'm Clay Hobbs. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Pafford Medical Services, your ambulance provider. And I think this is about the fourth time I've been in front of your council. We are just in year 2 now, providing ambulance service to the community of Conway and to Faulkner County. We're going to go over this evening the staffing for the ambulance service, some of our special events and community engagements, our special operations team, and we're going to review the key performance indicators and reports that we promised you when we took over as your ambulance provider. Currently, we have about 82 staff members, including EMTs, paramedics, and supervisory staff, and we are nearly fully staffed. All of our ambulances are staffed every day here within Conway and Faulkner County. We've been participating in events really since day one. That includes Toad Suck Days, many events at the University of Central Arkansas with their football games and basketball games, Hendricks College, city and county high school football games, county fair standbys, and then recently the eclipse that we did a couple years, I feel like, of preparedness activities to get ready for the eclipse, and we're glad to see that behind us now. I did enjoy the eclipse. We got to see about a minute and a half in Hope, and it was well worth it.
It was.
So as we told you during our presentation when we became your ambulance provider, that we wanted to be engaged in the community, and we have been successful in that, in my opinion. We have been able to integrate the ambulance system in with the fire department, and we have one cohesive group that is preparing to respond together, is training, and is responding to care for the residents of Conway. And that has been a seamless integration. Our special operations team has been working with the police department and sheriff's office here in Conway, in which we are sending our SWAT paramedics out when the SWAT team goes out to assist them and provide first-line patient care for not only our strike team members and our SWAT team members from the city and the county, but also patients that may be involved in those incidents. Response time data, we've responded to about 3.5%. We've had about a 3.5% increase in call volume here in Conway and Faulkner County. We had 20,563 responses to medical calls within Conway and Faulkner County in the last year. 12,801 of those responses were lights and sirens emergency responses to 911 calls. We respond to an average of 55 emergencies daily. And in the last year, our busiest day to respond to emergencies here was 87 calls for ambulance service.
What day was that?
On our response time data, you will see that we have 2 days that are actually busier than the rest historically, and that's our Tuesdays and Fridays are busier for us. They account for 15% of the call volume each. And our Saturdays and Sundays are actually 2 of our lower days with 13% and 14% respectively. We don't really have a lot of call volume overnight here. So if you notice on the chart for distribution of calls by hour, when it gets to about 11 p.m. and midnight, we go to 3% of our call volume, and that goes through 6, 7 a.m. And then at 8 a.m., we start building call volume again, and then peak time for call volume is between 4 and 5 p.m. Our out of chute data is 2 minutes and 11 seconds for us to have the ambulance, after it's notified, to have the ambulance wheels rolling to a 911 call. And our average response time, this is countywide, is 9 minutes and 32 seconds. We have an average on scene time in which we're taking care of the patient on scene of 10 minutes and 31 seconds. And it takes us about 11 minutes and 17 seconds to transport the patient from the scene of the incident to the hospital. We have a 19-minute and 48-second hospital drop time. That means that once the ambulance arrives at the door of the hospital, it takes us nearly 20 minutes to get the patient off the stretcher and then back onto the street for the next 911 call. So total average mission time for us is 58 minutes and 45 seconds. Conway, we have the cities broken down And you'll notice some of the cities in here include Sherwood and Jacksonville, Little Rock. And that is because some of the zip codes within the county have overreach from those communities into our county. And then we occasionally provide mutual aid assistance to other counties that might call us for assistance in the surrounding area. Conway had 16,019 of the run requests. So the city of Conway accounted for 78.8% of the ambulance calls within the county. Greenbrier was the next busiest with 9.47%, followed by Mayflower at 4.6. Out of the 20,526 responses, we transported 13,250 patients to area hospitals. Out of those transports, 43.3% of the patients chose to be transported to Conway Regional Medical Center, and 23.75% chose to be transported to Baptist Health in Conway. You'll see we did transport some patients to other facilities throughout the area at their request, or because it was a certain type of patient, maybe a trauma incident or a child that went to the Children's Hospital directly from the scene. We had 7,294 patients that once the ambulance arrived on scene, they chose not to go to the hospital. And this has historically been a problem for the ambulance industry. Last year, the legislature passed Act 480, in which Act 480 has a law that allows the ambulance provider to connect the patient on scene with a physician to provide a telemedicine visit to determine, can the patient be treated on scene? Do they need a prescription called in because they don't have their blood pressure medicine renewed? Do they need to go to an urgent care center, a behavioral health center, or lower level physician's office? We just enacted that service within Pafford. We've been preparing for about 2 years through our MedLink Center, and now we have 24-hour physician coverage. So all of our patients statewide now have the opportunity to have a telemedicine visit on site. In that law, it also requires the insurance company to pay the ambulance provider the base rate to respond to that call, and requires Medicaid to do the same thing. Huge win for us and huge win for communities like Conway, because our cost of readiness is so enormous. And it's just like what you have with your police department, your fire department. It's the cost of having the ambulance there, the paramedics ready. It's not the actual act of going on the call. It's the anticipation of how many calls are coming in. Do we have enough resources staffed? So this is eventually going to help us to have the financial wherewithal to offset those costs. We transported patients 153,645 miles with patients on board the ambulance. So we probably, we usually times that by about 2.5 times. So we put probably around 400,000 miles on ambulances here in the city of Conway last year. Our response time data for priority 1 911 calls was 8 minutes and 59 seconds. And for priority 2 calls was 9 minutes and 42 seconds. You'll see up there that our largest priority 1 call in the city was traffic and transportation incidents. 1,839 traffic accidents that we responded to. Those are the types of emergency calls that we're getting an ambulance out there just as quickly as we can. They're responding with lights and sirens activated. The calls in yellow are our priority 2 calls. They're a 911 call that does not require lights and sirens to respond to the incident, but maybe for a psychiatric problem, a sick person that's not feeling well, someone vomiting, back pain, other situations like that. And that's how we divide those calls. We provide screening using the National Academies of Emergency Dispatch, and every call into the 911 center at Pafford receives scrutiny to determine what type of call it is, and they provide pre-arrival instructions while the ambulance is responding. Transfers and discharges were an important part of the ambulance committee here. Both hospitals voiced concerns over not being able to get patients transferred out appropriately. We have met the hospital's needs on transferring patients emergently and non-emergently. We provided 3,450 transports for area hospitals last year. 1,929 of those came out of Conway Regional, 1,408 came out of Baptist Conway. And then you'll see a variety of others that we, from St. Vincent and Conway Behavioral Health, that we also had transports. This is just a map that shows the heat map of where those calls are coming from that we respond to with ambulances from Conway and Faulkner County. Of course, you'll see that Conway is the busiest, and Greenbrier and Mayflower have just a little bit different of a color there to show the difference. I want to thank you for allowing us to continue to serve as your ambulance provider. We thank you for the opportunity, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Could you go back to that previous slide? And I think this may have kind of come up the last time y'all were here. But, so you're telling me that it's some time, or at least once, an ambulance went from Conway down to Lake Hamilton in Malvern?
So it also may be an ambulance from here brought a transfer back, or they took a patient there for a procedure or a test and then brought them back to the county.
Okay. In fact, I do know, if I don't know this, if I remember correctly, don't y'all provide backup other areas that you service, if other areas are hit real hard and vice versa, they back up here?
We do, and that's something that's really benefited Conway and Faulkner County as well as the other communities we serve. The night that we had the fire downtown just a few months ago, we responded extra ambulances from Saline County to come up and help because we knew it was going to be a long event. We knew we were going to have to help with firefighter rehab and so forth. So we sent 2 ambulances from Saline County up here. We've had instances where they've had mass casualty incidents and we've sent ambulances down there. And it's worked out to where I don't think anyone's provided any more service than anyone else has. We do go up to the Damascus area and north of Greenbrier considerably. Just looking today at that, it's 125 calls last year we responded to in their county because they had no ambulance service available. So we've been a good neighbor to other folks.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate being able to do that, but we also monitor that because we don't want to get abused. And when we call for help, which will come someday, we'll have to. I hope that those people that we've helped all those years send their ambulances to help us.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
City of Conway, and additional ones.
I'm going to have Sean come up here and just tell you exactly how we're doing that because he's going to be better off to. Sean, can you come up?
The question is, how many ambulances do you keep in the city of Conway on a regular basis? And then how many others are scattered throughout Faulkner County?
Okay, we've got several inside the city of Conway, one at Fire Station 1, Fire Station 2, Fire Station 6, Fire Station 4, and those are 24 hours. We're recently remodeling a building that will add another 24-hour, which we call it Station 7, which will be right down from Fire Station 7. And then we have a BLS truck inside the city that's a 24-hour, and an ILS or an advanced truck that is a 12-hour truck as well. And then we have a 24-hour truck in Greenbrier and a 24-hour truck in Bologna and a 14-hour truck in Mayflower. And from time to time, we get really, really busy. You may have to call in an extra crew, and Pafford has allowed us that ability to call in extra crews as we need.
Sounded like 7 inside the city of Conway.
4, 5, 6, yes, sir, 7.
Thank you.
That's quite an advance to where we were.
That is.
Yeah, we've been very pleased with Pafford at the job y'all done. It's been tremendous.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard nothing but good things. So we appreciate you very much.
I hadn't heard any bad things. Hear that before.
Yes, sir, absolutely. You'll hear that first.
Yeah, I remember when we first started talking with y'all and y'all came and made your presentation and how smoothly that went, and we appreciate that.
Any questions, council? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you all next year.
Okay.
Next up, we have Community Development, Mr. Hawkins. I will turn this over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item is consideration to approve waiving all the readings for the ordinances on tonight's agenda, and I'll take a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings for the ordinances on the tonight's council meeting. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve the nomination of Jacqueline Wright for the Conway Housing Authority Board. This was sent forward to us after a meeting on March the 12th of this year. Ms. Wright was selected to fill a third 5-year term, and her term will expire April 12th of 2028. And I'll take a motion for that nomination.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the nomination of Ms. Jacqueline Wright for the Conway Housing Authority, and we appreciate her service and desiring to stay on that board. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve the nomination, pardon me, of John Ben Sherry for the Conway Corporation Board of Directors. This was forwarded to us from the Conway Board from a meeting that they held on March 8th of this year. And that would be a term that would run, I'm looking for the expiration of that term, and I'm not seeing it. Do y'all see that anywhere?
I don't.
I don't see it, but Mr. Sherry has been forwarded to us for action this evening, and I'll take a motion for this.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve John Sherry to the Board of Conway Corporation. Just a minute, please. Be a 7-year term, Mr. Hawkins.
I was thinking 7 or 8, and I didn't want to stick my foot in my mouth.
Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance to approve the private club permit location for Fat Burger of Conway, Inc., DBA Volstead Proper. It's located at 2205 Dave Ward Drive in Conway. And this was reviewed by the Planning Commission. And they forwarded this to us for action this evening. This will be ordinance 02425.
25.
Would you like to come up and tell us a little bit about your business?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Ladies, gentlemen, how y'all doing? Hello. Hey, y'all. So yes, my name is Manuel Rosas. I am here on behalf of Volstead Proper. Volstead Proper is going to be a smoked kitchen bourbon bar that we plan on opening at 2205 Dave Ward Drive, right across the soccer fields. And what we are planning on doing is we're planning on getting our chef. You guys are familiar with Petite Key Cypress Social. We actually partnered up with their chef, executive chef, Steve Benatti, and together we came up with a great menu that will kind of capture the 1920s feeling, the atmosphere of the nuance of the prohibition being lifted, with smoky flavors, very good mixology. We got somebody from 1836 here with us as partners. So we're going to have a great variety of drinks, smoke kitchen. Like I was saying, we actually met with some culinary experts in Dallas, and they were actually working with some of these new technologies. One of them being an easy-to-use smoker. We can make very, very good brisket. I would say some of the top in the U.S. Gordon Ramsay was using this equipment as well in some of his kitchens. And with a simple 2-touch system, we are able to get that food into everybody's mouths here in Conway. So we are filling that hole of not necessarily having that, if you will, kind of like a fine restaurant here in Conway, and especially on this side of town. Most of where everybody is, most of the audience right now is gathering closer towards Sam's, towards walk-ons, right? So we're actually getting somewhere, a to-go-to place here in Conway, where anybody can experience some of the gastronomy that you might in Little Rock, LA, New York, Atlanta. That's what we're bringing here to Conway. And in order to do that, we would like to attach the bourbon side of things into our smoked kitchen so that the flavors can go well together. So if you have any questions, I'm here for that.
Is this the old Fat Burger location?
It is the old
Thank
Fat
you
Burger
very much.
location, and to clarify the name, so the name, we're doing business as Volstead proper, however, the name still holds Fat Burger in Conway. So what we have to do is we have to go through the ABC to ensure that there is a correct way of amending that name so that we can make it Volstead proper in Conway. Right now, there is no specific way of amending a nonprofit. So that is what we are working with the ABC right now. We are in the final stages of that. We just need an inspector to come in, make sure that we're all good, which we are, and they'll sign us off on that. As far as the amending, though, we still have to go through the correct process of that, which we are finding out with the ABC. Yes, sir.
Any other
Any
questions?
questions, council?
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Cummins? Yes. Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
And Mr. Jones?
Yes.
That passes 8-0.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Thank
we
you.
look forward to seeing y'all there.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
Welcome to Conway.
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution to approve fleet maintenance services for the city of Conway. And am I here to talk about that, Jamie? Hello,
Good evening.
how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good, but I usually don't see you when we talk about fleet maintenance.
Well, it's a citywide thing,
I got
so I just want to make sure everyone, all departments are included. We solicited an RFP for this so we could consider quality qualifications as well as cost. We sent out several invitations, only received 2 back, one from Superior Chevrolet and the other from R&D Tire. We would like you to give us permission to enter agreements with both vendors so that we can use both vendors and possibly renew those agreements yearly.
Is there a big difference in pricing?
It turned out the same when you consider the part markup. The percentage for parts markup was a little bit more for Superior, I believe, than their basic oil change. But when you consider that, it was even.
I actually kind of like this, having two to
Two.
pick from.
Mhm.
And I would hope that, I assume both will do excellent jobs for the city, but I think we'll probably, if one is not, we got a backup. That's
Right.
good. I like that.
I will say our department fleet managers and I as well visited these shops and interviewed these vendors as well, and we thought they were sufficient.
Excellent.
Right.
Mr. Garrett, what's our resolution number?
Resolution
17.
R2417.
Thank you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution to approve fleet maintenance for services with Superior Chevrolet and R&D Tire Service. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0. Thank you,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Mr. Hawkins?
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance appropriating funding and approving the lowest bid for the East German Road improvements for the Transportation Department. Kirk, good evening.
I need to clear one thing up, I think, Mr. Hawkins.
Says ordinance on our thing,
Yeah.
but this is a
Yeah.
resolution.
It
That is
says
incorrect.
Resolution at the top, and it says ordinance in the
On the
description.
agenda. Mhm.
So which would it be?
It's an ordinance, yeah.
Thank you very much.
It should be an ordinance appropriating funds, accepting the lowest bid and entering into an agreement for East German Lane improvements for the Conway Transportation Department and other purposes.
And before Mr. Jones talks, I just want to say thank you for sharing the eclipse online
Mhm.
yesterday. It was great fun to watch you as it was happening to us.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And
We had a
I
great
assume
time.
anybody can go out and rewatch it if they
Yeah,
want
it's
to?
it should still be on my Facebook page. It's the live stream. We didn't quite make it through the whole. Made it from the beginning through totality, and then towards the last third of the run out, didn't get that because I was getting tired, and I was still trying to take pictures, and anyway, I got the second setup that I was using, the live stream, knocked out of alignment, and I was hot and tired and hungry, and
Well, but
didn't feel like setting it back up.
it was a lot better picture and view than my iPhone was.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
could
well,
not get a good picture.
I'm
to save
glad
my-
everyone enjoyed it, and we certainly had a ball sitting out there, and met some really nice people from both coasts that were hanging out at Simon Park, and they had nothing but good things to say about our community, and
Good. Wonderful.
and yeah.
It's been fun. Jacob Reynolds and I have picked on Kurt unmercifully about the eclipse for the last year. We've accused him of wearing a self-made full hat and everything.
They've given me a hard time.
But when it
and-
actually passed, we both had to tell him that was really
It
cool.
was really
You did a great job, Kurt.
Thank you.
We, just as an aside, we had an Advertising and Promotion Commission meeting today, and at the UCA campus, we were told that there were representatives from 23 different states and Canada that were in town for the meeting. So in case you're interested in that anywhere.
Yeah, that's impressive.
My wife-
It was mine and my wife's second total solar eclipse, and I started anticipating, looking forward to this one shortly after we went to Hopkinsville in 2017 to view the total eclipse, and we couldn't have asked for better weather.
Oh, man.
I know leading up to it, I was watching the weather forecast and worried about trying to decide if I was just going to jump ship and head somewhere else.
My wife said the roosters crowed out the farm. She said they were confused.
We had a great event.
I've lost my place. Where
East
were we?
German Lane.
East German Lane. Listen, this has been a long time coming, and I
Yes.
appreciate the
Yes.
Transportation Department and council on this. We're finally going to get some sidewalks out there for those kids at the school. Mr.
Right.
Cummins, I know you'll like
Much
that.
needed.
They're widening the street, and right now they're working on drainage.
We're working on some storm drains
Drainage,
right now,
yeah.
yes. So this is actually, we did bid this project. We had two bidders. The engineer's estimate was 2.5 million. We had a very good bid on this, and the low bid was 2.04 million, a little bit less. As the mayor mentioned, this project is going to include, widening, getting bike lanes, putting the open ditches into enclosed storm drain system, improving the drainage system there, sidewalks on both sides, bike lanes. The city crews right now are actually working on some of the extension storm drain from this project that will capture the storm drain from East German and take it to the creek there. But we were very, very pleased with the bid that we got and the contractor. Looking forward to getting this project started as soon as school lets out for the summer.
Yeah, they need sound.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of this started because of observations and from our city attorney, Mr. Fingermeyer. I know he spends a lot of time out there, and he had made some comments about the safety of the children walking up and down East German there, and we started looking at it as a sidewalk project, and eventually it evolved into a complete street project.
And the next thing we need to do is speeding up there. I went out there to the fire station one day. It's unbelievable how people would just go up and down. Crazy.
Any questions of Kurt?
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance R2426. 2426.
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance appropriating funds and entering an agreement with JCI, which has been a great partner for us. Construction for the East German Lane improvements. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Cummins?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
That passes
Thank you.
8-0. Thank you, Kurt. Nope, I think you're still up here.
I'm still
Mr.
up.
Hawkins.
Still up. The next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution to approve professional services for the Connect Conway project for the Transportation Department. This is one I'm fired up about.
We're all fired up about
I'm
this.
telling
as well.
you, we are ready for this.
Okay, so this is obviously our RAISE grant project that we were awarded some time ago, that we've been hammering out the grant agreement for the last, probably year and a half. So we've got this is the RAISE grant that we applied for and received a grant of just under $25 million. We have finally, like I say, hammered out the grant agreement. This is a 100% funded project. The engineering will be included in the grant as well. We went through a RFQ process, interviewed, had a great turnout from some very qualified engineering firms that submitted on this. We had the project broken into 4 components that we could potentially award to. In the end, we decided to basically split the project into 2 design components. One, which would be everything east of I-40, the I-40 corridor, and include the trail system, and then also our Little Creek Plaza, which we're pretty excited about. And then the other would be everything west. And the selection committee's recommendation was to award the east of I-40 corridor segments 1 and 2 to Craft and Toll and Associates, and then award the segments 2 and 3, which would be west of the I-40 corridor, to Garver. And the plan is that, once this resolution passes, we'll start negotiating a contract with these 2 firms for the design services, hammer out the scope and actual engineering fee. And then come back with a formal contract agreement.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R-2418.
Second?
Have a motion, a second, to approve this resolution, to approve Garver and Craft and Toll for professional services for the Conway Connect project, which I know we're all excited about.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Real quick, do we have any idea how long the design phase will take?
It's all going to be done next summer, right? Everything?
Well, I think it's all the i's and all the t's. All the i's have to be dotted, and all the t's have to be crossed with the federal government.
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of review involved in this, particularly at the environmental level, that in the early stages, that a lot of it's going to be hinge on how long these reviews take. The actual time spent on design is not going to be near as long as the various review processes. But we've got a tentative schedule, and I'm sorry I don't have that in front of me right now. But we do have a schedule, and we're a little bit behind right now just because of how long it took us to get this whole grant agreement resolved. But we've got an end deadline, and the consultants that we've selected, and we've had conversations with them about that, and they're confident that we're not going to have any trouble, meeting this end deadline.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 8-0. Thank you, Kurt.
Kurt, do we have a certain time frame that money has to be spent?
Yes, we do.
Can you tell me about that real quickly
Rob,
before you
probably
leave?
got that number memorized. 2031.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Hawkins.
Final item here, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance to rezone property at 2014 Washington Avenue. It currently zoned R2A. The requested zoning is R2, and Ms. Tucker, good evening.
Yes, sir. Kurt's kind of a hard act to follow. His stuff is much more exciting than mine. But this applicant is asking for a rezone from R2A to R2. They intend to remove the existing structure that was heavily damaged by fire. It is not salvageable, and divide it into 2 separate lots to construct duplexes.
And that old house has to come down.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was heavily damaged.
I'll make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance 02427.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance to rezone the property located at 2014 Washington Avenue from R2A to R2. Any further discussion?
I will just note, I don't know if Andy had mentioned it, but the planning commission, it passed 9-0 in favor of.
Thank you,
Did
Ms.
not
Isby.
mention that. Thank you, Ms. Isby.
You
Thank
bet.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Cummins? Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
And Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Tucker.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Next up, we have public service, and first thing we have is an ordinance appropriating asset forfeiture funds for the Conway Police Department. Chief Harris.
Good evening.
Hey, Chief.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to say I appreciate the council for allowing me the opportunity to go before the fire department. So,
Oh, it's already started, I see. Some things never change, do they, Mark?
For this, we're requesting to use asset forfeiture funds for the purchase of new badges as well as e-bikes for our crime suppression team. So our badges, as far as I've been there for at least the last couple of decades, we've had the same badges. Some of them are starting to show it. So we had a great positive feedback from our centennial badges. Remember we had the 100-year centennial badge. So we're asking to design the same badge for a permanent badge. As far as the electric bikes are concerned, obviously it's getting that time of year. We're going to put our crime suppression team, get them out of the patrol units and on e-bikes. We're allowed to purchase them and hit the walking trails and other
Great.
areas. So,
Good idea.
Yeah,
Mhm.
real good idea. Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance 02428.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance appropriating asset forfeiture funds for the Conway Police Department. I'm excited about your e-bikes too, Chief.
Yes.
That's great. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Cummins? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Passes 8-0. Next up, we have an ordinance requesting waiving the bid process and appropriating funds for new vehicles for the Conway Police Department. Chief Harris. This has an emergency clause in it as well, Council.
yes, apparently Chevy Tahoes are popular among law enforcement. And the only place we could find any available was up in Siloam Springs. So we're asking to waive the bid requirements.
Make a motion for adoption of the ordinance 02429 along with the emergency clause.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance with the emergency clause approving the waiving of bids and appropriation of funds for the Conway Police Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett. I'm sorry, Mr. Jones.
Before we get the vehicles, they should be holding them for us.
Oh,
Good.
good.
Usually that's how,
Good.
Good.
once we get it, we put our name on it.
Awesome.
Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Cummins? Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
And the emergency clause, Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Cummins? Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Those both pass 8-0. Next up, we have an ordinance appropriating reimbursement funds for the Conway Police Department. Chief Harris.
Yes, these are reimbursement funds for extra duty services and the other from insurance proceed for our vehicles. We just request that these funds be reallocated back into their respective accounts.
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance 02430.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance, appropriating reimbursement funds for the Conway Police Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Webb,
Aye.
Ms. Mel,
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mr. Cummins, Ms. Isby,
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Grimes.
Aye.
That passes 8-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a resolution to approve a matching grant application submission for FEMA's Fire Prevention and Safety Professional Services Grant Program for the Conway Fire Department. Chief Winter.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First thing we have is we're requesting approval to apply for a grant for our Fire Marshals Division. They're needing some equipment, some cameras, and thanks to Robbie, he found us a grant. But the grant, we would have to be required to match up to 5%. Total grant cost or awarding would be $25,000, so we'd be responsible for about $1,250 if we receive the grant.
Good deal.
Make a motion for adoption of this resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for matching grant application from FEMA for the Conway Fire Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
The resolution R2419. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
That passes 8-0. Next up is an ordinance appropriating funds for a new fire truck for the Conway Fire Department. We had this discussion here a couple of weeks ago, but I will let
Yes.
Chief Winter bring you up to speed.
Yes, so we have been in touch with Pierce Manufacturing. They do have some stock units that they do publish once a month. And matter of fact, I had 3 first of last week that we were trying to get a price range on these units. They had 3 that morning. By that afternoon, they were all gone. So we are speaking with the mayor. He asked me to come up with a price range, get approval, so when those do come available, we can tag it immediately. So that's what we're here tonight for, asking for your approval to purchase a fire truck not to exceed $1.2 million,
What's the lower end of that range, Chief?
$900,000.
And that's, council, that's what they're running. We have 2 trucks. We're 2 years out and 3 years out on those trucks. When would these be available, Mike, if the council so approves?
Being a stock unit, we hope to get a list for the May production.
Mhm.
If we get that, then we hopefully we'll get it in September.
Yes.
Now, it is a stock unit, so,
Still,
but
it's-
that
Yes,
will
it's a
get
unit.
us, yes, that will put us another engine. Absolutely.
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance O2431.
Second.
The city attorney just advised me that we probably want to waive the competitive bid process on this as well.
This is a clear emergency, but I think the council could easily, because of that, dispense with any competitive bidding requirements.
I'll add waiving the bids and declaring this as an emergency.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to waiving the bids and waiving the bid process and declaring an emergency, and then approving the chief to stay within this range on the fire truck.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a second to that. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes. With this approval, that's all they need when they say.
I don't know if
Matter
everybody
of
remembers
speed.
the audience. The wait time on getting a fire truck is just
Years.
years.
Yes.
And that's why we're here.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Right, we
I
used to
want
get them
everybody
in-
to understand, just watching it. We're doing this because we don't want to be without one.
Right. We're being told today, expect 5 years wait.
Gosh. This is good.
Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Isby,
Yes.
Ms. Webb,
Aye.
Ms. Mel,
Aye.
Mr. Cummins, Mr. Grimes.
Aye.
Emergency clause.
Emergency clause.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Isby,
Yes.
Ms. Webb,
Aye.
Ms. Mel,
Aye.
Mr. Cummins, Mr. Grimes.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mayor.
Chief.
Thank you,
Council, that's
council.
all I have tonight.
Thank you for letting Police Chief go
Thank
first.
you,
He's had a
Chief.
tough weekend.
We saved the best for last.
Yes.
Ladies, thank you all for being here tonight. We enjoyed you being here. Show up anytime. I think Wendy is going to sing the national anthem for us next time. Council, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.